or something. So in total, we probably follow about 60 to 70 patients with VHL, goes up and down, and we probably see in the order of maybe 20 or 30, maybe closer to 20 patients who have hemangioblastoma.
Thank you.
No other features of VHL, but nonetheless we put them through the VHL screening protocol.
Okay.
So in terms of our workload, we're probably quite a large centre in terms of the amount of follow-up that we do, the number of patients that we have.
That's really interesting. And you were saying you get 20 patients that just have hemangioblastoma. Hemangioblastoma.
Yep.
We'll get that eventually. And in your experience, does VHL account for pretty much all of those patients?
No.
Right.
It's very, very age dependent. So if you're young with a hemangioblastoma, you're far more likely to have VHL compared to if you're relatively old with hemangioblastoma, in which case you're very unlikely to have VHL. So it's like all things that have a strong genetic predisposition, they tend to occur at an earlier age and they tend to occur more than once, which is typical of hemangioblastoma and VHL. So a lot of the older patients with hemangioblastoma actually have just finished an audit and not being referred into genetics, but we would recommend seeing all of them because we put them through a one-off VHL screening protocol plus genetic testing. If all of that is negative and they're over the age of 40, we discharge them and say their risk of recurrence or VHL is very low.
Right, okay.
But all the younger patients under 40, we follow up to age 40, but practice across the UK is very variable. Some centres don't see isolated hemangioblastoma. Yeah. Some neurosurgeons don't refer them, but we try and see all of them.
I'm actually gone out quite deliberately. I'm seeing you and I'm seeing a neurosurgeon. I can't identify where, but a chair in neurosurgery to get his thoughts and opinions.
I think we work on the basis that in real terms, the sort of the literature about this is not particularly well developed, but I think it's got enough evidence in there to say that we should be doing this. I mean, you could probably argue that overall about a third of hemangioblastomas are associated with VHL, but a lot of those are going to be known patients with VHL. Whereas if you've got an unknown patient, as I said, the risk is much greater when they're at a young age, but the risk is actually very low when they're older. But the risk is not zero. Okay. So that's why we operate the practice that we do.
So how many VHL patients would you expect to see presenting in a month with hemangioblastoma?
Well, in terms of our own local practice, the number is going to be low.
Okay.
Just because although it's a common complication of VHL, the actual number of patients is low, so therefore the frequency is going to be low.
The reason why I asked that question is that the literature seems to have a little bit of a debate going on as to what is the actual percentage of VHL patients that will actually go on and develop hemangioblastoma.
Hemangioblastoma. No, absolutely.
And then the debate goes on even more and says, well, how many of those will actually reoccur?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's exactly what we're aiming, or what a lot of centres are aiming to do at the moment. So if you do it in a single centre, such as ours, with only 60 or 70 patients, well, you're never going to know.
Yeah.
So you've got to do this in very large populations, which means for a rare disease, you've got to do it nationally. Yeah. So we're in the process of just collecting a lot of data around that. We've done a long-term review of our own hemangioblastoma patients. Mm-hmm. There is a VHL registry which is run out of North America, and we've just got funding from a group to set up a VHL registry in the UK where we can answer those questions. But I think it's generally accepted that the range, the variability is high, but you're generally looking to at least a third of patients are going to be developing a hemangioblastoma over their lifetime, and probably a significant proportion of those, I think not clearly documented at all, are going to get more than one. In a year, let's say in a month, I would say I'm